Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. What's going on, Real Estate 360 friends and family? This is your man, Jason Miles. And listen, today we're going to talk about the 13 mistakes that I've made in my career, in my vast career investing in real estate, but specifically as it relates to creative financing and subject to deals. I'm telling you, I have been doing this now since 2001. I'm on my 22nd year. And again, if you've heard me talk, I talk all the time about my first 2.5 years as a real estate investor. It was very, very tough. I only knew one way to get things done, and it prohibited me from doing everything else. If it didn't fit this one mold, I couldn't make any money, right? It was really, really hard. And I made all these different mistakes. Then I learned another strategy. And once I learned that strategy, it still took a little while for me to get there. But once I got there, man, I was there. But I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And today I'm going to share with you what those mistakes are. So I want you to be ready. And I want you, as always, to ask questions. If you have questions, the comments are open. I'm here to answer those questions for you. Got to make it happen. But in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and get started? I'll see you in a second. Being a real estate investor, there's nothing to it.
Sellers are just waiting for my call. Hey.
I'm sick and tired of y'all calling me. Stop calling my phone. I'm just sick of them. Sick.
So basically, there's no competition.
All I have to do is mail these out. Boom. Here comes the money.
Real estate. Easy money.
Hey, get away from my car.
My offers are solid, and they always get accepted.
Be nice.
As real estate investors, we make our own hours.
Now all I have to do is put in these bandit signs.
If you invest in real estate, you know exactly what you just saw. It can be problematic, right? It's the same group of people going after the same group of people saying the same thing to the same group of people. I get it. I've done it all. Some of those strategies can work, but it's all about messaging and numbers. But I'm here to tell you today that there's an absolutely better way to get things done, that you can double what you're doing. If you're a full-time investor already, you should be doing 5 to 10 deals a month. If you're not, let's have a conversation. If you're just getting started, this is the best way for you to go and get started. If you don't have any money to put into marketing and you want to develop a pipeline of deals that's consistently coming through, and you don't have to have the exact same conversation over and over and over again with another new seller. All you have to do is watch this study that I've put together for you. It's a little bit of a training, and let's have a conversation afterward. I've been at this for more than 2 decades, and we've developed strategies and relationships and systems and processes that allow our business to do 15 deals, 12 deals a month per market that we're in. And I want to share this information with you. Click the link below. Let's have a conversation. Peace. All right. Welcome back. So let's talk about it. You know, what does it mean to do a subject to deal, right? Subject to, hold on, let me just check a couple things here. All right, here we're good. So what does it mean to do subject to? Subject to is taking over a property, a business. You know, it could be a vehicle, it could be a car, it could be a business, it could be anything that you're buying, and the other person is financing it for you. You're taking that asset subject to any existing finance on it, okay? And in this market, we do a ton of that kind of stuff. And it's important that you know some of the mistakes that you can come into. Believe me, I thought about a lot of different things today to talk about, but I really felt that it was important to talk about these mistakes. Why? Because as we have more and more people that are coming into the fold of our educational process, hold on a second. I've got to go over here and try to let somebody in really quick. I want to make sure that they get in. Lord, forgive me. I don't see them. Well, let me just tell them to go here. Pardon me. All right, I want to just make sure that they're straight. All right, so subject 2 is, it's just vital that you know what you need to do. And I've made these mistakes. And when I got started in doing this, I didn't know. I heard this process and then I started to learn it, but I was doing it on my own. And it was a part of my first 2.5 years. And then even after that, once I got going, these are some mistakes that I made, or certain things that I didn't know that I learned later on, right? I learned what you were supposed to do. And we're going to go over just 13 of them, and they're in really no specific order. I want to be clear about that. But these are things that you have to verify across, your creative financing strategy system. Okay, so the first thing, and you'll be able to take screenshots of this as well. But the first one, number 1, is verify all of the loan terms. Verify all of the loan terms. Why is that important? Listen, if you don't know the loan terms, it can change on you. You could have got an adjustable rate mortgage. The loan could be called in 2 years and you don't know about it. It could be amortized out over 2 years, but you didn't know. Hey, Cassandra, welcome. But you didn't know, what those terms were. So when you're putting a deal together, you have to ask for the note, for the security deed. You want to see it. And if the seller doesn't have it, you're going to ask the lender to get it for you. You're going to request that they get that note and forward it over to you so you can read it. You don't want to just rely on the word of the individual that you're talking to on the phone. It's important that you got to trust and verify is what they say, right? Trust and verify. Jeffrey Cook, what's going on, sir? Welcome. Trust and verify who they are or what that loan is. Trust and verify. So you have to verify all the terms of the loan for you to make it, because you could get great terms on a deal or negotiate great terms on a deal. But if it's contrary to what is in that security deed, what that note says, you're going to have a problem, potentially. And I've seen it happen. I've seen people put deals together and there's an arm on it or there's a balloon payment on it. And you have to be aware of it. And if you don't know it's there, you could lose a lot of money. You could actually be, depending on what your exit strategy is, be liable in court for the people that you sold the property to if you were doing a wrap or a lease option or something of that nature. So you need to protect yourself. And in my opinion, one of the first layers of that protection is to verify the terms of the loan. Okay. Now we're going to get into number 2. But again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. This is an open forum, and I encourage you to please come one, come all, give me all your questions. I want to make sure that you know exactly what it is you're doing. I want to make sure you have the knowledge that you need to possess when you're out here doing this thing. Okay? All right. So number 2, let me make my thing here. Get right here. So number 2, being too anxious. What does that mean, being too anxious? Don't be anxious to get a deal. We all want to get a real estate deal. We all want to put this together. We all want to make money, right? I remember when I did my first deal, I was so excited. I made an absolute horrible deal because I just wanted to make a deal. I didn't make any money. In fact, I lost money on that deal. But it was my very first one. I was so excited. I did pretty much everything on here I did wrong. This whole list of 13, I did it wrong on this first deal, right? And I learned along the way. But in my anxiousness of just wanting to get a deal, create passive income for myself in that particular case, it didn't turn out too well because I was too anxious. I said yes to things I should have said no to. I said no to things I should have said yes to. I was too anxious. I was just going along with whatever the seller was needing because I was just so anxious to do a deal. I had heard no so many times. Here I have someone that's talking to me. I mean, they're actually talking to me. And then they said, yes, I'll do the deal, but I let them dictate the terms because I was too anxious to do the deal. I said yes to things I shouldn't have said yes to, no to things I shouldn't have said no to. And I just made a bad deal, all because I just wanted to do a deal. I was just too anxious. So don't be too anxious to get a deal because you're going to get a deal, right? You're going to get a deal. You just have to create the right belief, the know, like, and trust. You have to create that with the seller. And sometimes that doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, okay? Especially if they don't understand the process. So don't be too anxious to make a deal. So number 3, not verifying the condition of the property. Not verifying the condition of the property. And now this will happen more when you're doing deals out of state or they're just far from you. That'll happen. Well, it shouldn't happen, but it does happen. And how do you fix that? How do you verify the condition of the property? I've seen people buy real estate subject to the existing mortgage, and they showed them old pictures. The house was trashed, because they didn't go look at it or they didn't send someone to look at it. We pay an agent in a lot of cases $50 to just go over there and take pictures. I like to get the owners of the property to go over there if they can make it over there. Sometimes they're out of state as well, and I'll do a FaceTime with them, or if they don't have an iPhone, I'll do a Zoom, while on the phone, and I can see the property in real time that way. I can put my own eyes on it. I might not be able to get under the house, but I'm going to be able to see what's going on for the most part with that property. I can look at the electrical box. I can see the furnace. I can see the air compressor. I can see the water heater. I can ask them to turn the lights on and off and the water on and off to make sure that it's on, right? I can see that it looks like it's there, but the wires could be cut. Anything could happen. I mean, people will really try to get over you at any given time if you allow them to. So you have to verify the condition of the property. If you're not verifying, however you're verifying it, if you're not verifying the condition of the property, you're going to wind up having a real problem. You don't want that kind of a problem. Trust me, you don't want that kind of a problem. Okay? All right, let me get this out of the way. I'm sorry. Boom. All right. Number 4. Let me get you over here. The number 4 big mistake that I made was using the term subject to with the seller. Why is that a big deal? Now, for any of you that have been on the phone with me, and I've made calls with or for you, you won't hear me use the term subject to. You hear me say creative financing. You hear me say you're the bank. You hear me say down payment. But once I get into the subject to, and they say, well, what is subject to? Well, subject to is me taking your property over subject to the existing financing, meaning it stays in place. Now I'm teaching them, right? And I'm teaching them something that they're completely unfamiliar with. They don't really know about. So I don't use that term very often. I just keep it kind of simple. I'm open with them. It's creative financing. We do these things creatively. Ultimately, of course, I'm going to get into the loan is staying in your name. Here's what that looks like. That's later in the conversation, right? And there's several different ways that you can, ease them. You want people to be at ease. You want them to be comfortable doing the deal with you, obviously. And the only way that you're going to make that happen is by not being the smartest guy in the room. Don't use industry language. They're not in your industry. So you have to speak regular people language, layman's term. You speak layman's terms across the board. They're not in your industry. Subject to is an industry term. Technically, creative financing is an industry term, but that's something that people can grasp onto, creative financing. Okay, what does that look like? And then we tell them. So you don't want to be at all the smart guy on the phone. Don't overtalk people, because if you've ever been in a negotiation with someone that doesn't know what you know, a lot of times they're going to say, yeah, oh yeah, I get it. But then when the conversation is over and you go your separate ways, that person, they don't know, and they know they don't know. And instead of them going to get educated, they just said they understand to you to hurry up and get this thing over with, because they don't want to look like they don't know. You understand what I'm saying? But when that's over, they have now forgotten about you because they don't want to deal with this. It happens all the time. So don't be the smart one in the room. Speak layman's terms when you're talking to people. Just don't use the industry language. Keep it simple. That's what you have the attorneys for, right? Which we'll get to in a little bit. Now, number 5, getting the seller to sign all the documents right then and there, right? Why? I mean, if any of you have looked at the documents, and if you haven't looked at the documents, there's a link below. You can get all the subject to documents right there. And there's even more, to be honest with you. But those are the ones that I like to give you right away. There's only 2 documents that you need the seller to sign immediately. That is your PSA, your purchase and sale agreement, and your authorization to release information, so you can start talking to the bank and putting these things together and requesting the note, right? So you can verify all that information. But don't have them sign all those documents. It's so much, there's so many documents there. This is a big mistake because of the way I was doing it initially. I would go with a big folder. I had a beautiful folder made, and I'm walking, I'm holding my folder, and I'm standing there, and I'm going through all this stuff. Or we have to go to a notary and sign all this stuff and get everything notarized. And I have to explain every form. And over time, you know, some of those forms have gotten larger for different reasons. Some of them have gotten smaller for different reasons. But I don't want them to do all of that right then and there. Not at all. Because it's me explaining it to them, and they don't understand. And if there's a problem later, they'll say, you know, if we have to go to court, that seller will say, well, he didn't explain it to me. I didn't know any of this stuff before I signed this. They just came in, you know, Miles just came in and said, hey, sign these documents, I'll buy your house. I didn't know that it meant I had to move. I didn't know that it meant that he was going to make my payment. I didn't know this, that, or the other. But they still took the money, right? I know. But you have to protect yourself. And it sounds foolish, and you might think you need to have them, but think about it. If you've wholesaled a deal, if you've bought or sold any real estate, okay, in a traditional sense, what do you sign? A purchase and sale agreement, maybe some addendums. All those other forms are at the attorney's office, and then the attorney explains them all. So you are not an attorney, presumably. So don't do that. Don't do that. You hand your documents to the attorney. That's part of your closing package, okay? And your attorney will handle those things. But you don't do it. And I've done it. I have. And I've been sued. Only once. But it's because of this. The people said they didn't understand anything. And you know what? Once we got to that point, I said, look, just take it back. I'm fine. You know, I'll just do this differently next time. I saw where we were. But by that point, I had done several deals. And I wasn't closing them with an attorney. Horrible situations. You know, it was rough. And you have to be aware that those things are there. So, and again, I'm telling you these things so you don't have to do what I did. Don't make these 13 mistakes, period. Do not make, I mean, they're too costly. They're too costly. It's just going to leave you in a bad situation. And I don't want you to be there. I know you don't want to be there. And I don't want you to be there, which is why I do these Sunday schools, to share information with you that I've learned over my 2-decade-plus career as a real estate investor. This is extremely important that you know these things, okay? All right, so, boom. Thank you, Ms. Cassandra. Thank you, Cassandra says. Great information. Thank you, Cassandra. You know I try. I do everything. Well, you know what? I don't even believe it. I don't even know why I said that. I don't try. I do. You're either doing or you're not. I learned that from Yoda. I can't quote him, but I remember he said it, and I use it. Okay? All right. So let's get back to the list here. All right. Number 6, not getting a title search. Ooh, not getting a title search. Man, let me tell you, a title search is something that you could do for yourself, but it takes a lot of time. You got to go down to the courthouse or pay for access to these records, and then you got to know how to navigate your way through them. No, pay somebody to do a title search for you so they can tell you if there are any tax liens on the property, if there are any mechanics liens, any liens whatsoever that it could be child support, it could be credit cards, credit card companies. Now, this is something that I learned, again, from doing a deal without having done a title search, not going through an attorney, right? I did this deal. I did this was probably 02, 03, somewhere in there. All of this is stuff that happened in my first 2.5 years, okay? And again, if you've known me, I talk about those 2.5 years because I was scarred. I was damaged, I sometimes have nightmares about those first 2.5 years. People thought I was crazy. I just knew there was money here. I knew it. All right, so not getting a title search. So in my anxiousness to get a deal, moving too fast, thinking I knew everything because I read a book about it, right? I didn't get title searches in the beginning. And because of that, I was unaware of a second mortgage that was put in place by the seller initially, and they didn't tell me about it. So the deal looked really, really good at the time, but that second mortgage being in place, I didn't know about it, and that's a deal that I had to hold on to for a lot of years before I actually made my money. I had to wait for some appreciation to catch up with it, and I was able to get rid of that property, but it wasn't what I wanted, right? I mean, I thought I was going to make a lot more money on that deal. I still made money, but it was minuscule compared to what I was supposed to make or what I had calculated in making. And there was nothing I could do. I couldn't unravel the deal without the seller saying, okay, great. Because again, I gave them money to walk away and they walked away. So I had to deal with that problem. And it was not just their problem. Now it's my problem in a big way because I didn't do a title search and they just walked away with my money, plus the money they got from that second mortgage at some point. It was a horrible situation. I was very, very hurt. The investor journey. Hey, what's going on, girl? Welcome, Miss Lady. How you feeling? Thank you for stopping by. All right. That's Miss Nia Imani. I see that she just got in. Welcome, or just commented. I see you there. All right. So get that title search. It's imperative that you get that title search because you don't know what's going to be there. You could be signing up for some really, really bad stuff, but you got to make it happen. You got to get it. And, we talk about that all the time on that entry fee. Okay. It's part of the entry fee. Let me get to that before we go back. So, getting a title search is part of your closing cost. Part of your closing costs are attorney's fees. Let the attorneys do what they do. Please, by all means, let them do what they do. That's what they're there for. And, we'll get to that in a second. All right. Number 7, not being upfront with your sellers. In people's haste to jump out there and get a deal done, they may omit information or just straight up lie. Whatever degree you want to consider it, they straight up lie to a seller to get a deal done. You got to be upfront with people. Be honest with them. Why would you want to lie to get into a deal and then they figure out the lie, or the withholding of information? They figure it out on their own because you were, leading them down. You were lying, right? So now they figured it out and they come back and they've got a real problem with you, and they might want to sue you. They could do anything. So just be upfront with people. When like in my case, I would omit some information. And this was, I did in my pitch. I would tell them, yeah, we're buying it, but it's kind of like a lease option and we're not going to do it for a couple of years or 3 years or however long. It's basically me just renting the property, which is not the case. It's not the case. Well, what about the due on sale clause? That'll never happen. I've never even heard about it happening. I mean, I know about it. And at that point, it had never happened to me, right? So I was telling people, yeah, it's not going to happen. It doesn't matter. You know, it's just something that they say because they want to get paid. And I couldn't have been more of a BS artist in those days because I was afraid to be honest with them. I was afraid to be 100% honest, right? And tell them and address the negative things the things that could happen, right? Now, and again, if you are a part of my education course, you know, we address all of those issues in our initial conversation. We bring it all up. We bring everything up. Due on sale clause, insurance, you know, what happens if I don't pay? You know, all these things are addressed immediately up front. I want to get those objections handled out right away up front, get them out of the way. They know they're there. I know they're there. So it's important for me to deal with that. Whereas in the beginning of my career, I did everything in my power not to talk about those objections. Everything. And when they did come up, I really didn't know how to answer them. I didn't know how to handle the situation. Now, of course, experience has taught me how to do that. And since I know it's a big problem for so many people, I want to share that with you. These are things you need to know, right? I even help the people that I'm working with, our students. I'm on the phone with them. I'm showing them. I record them and I share them with them. And you can check on the YouTube channel here. There's a couple calls with me and sellers, and me and agents, just being straight up, completely open, completely transparent about what you're doing. You will get more business and repeat business by being ethical, honest and ethical. Just be honest and ethical. You don't have to, in your anxiety to get a deal, try not to share information. It's not that you're trying to get over on people, because that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to get deals. But it's in that transparency and that openness that people are more than happy to do business with you. There's something that people can sense when you're not being honest to them. When you're giving them a line of BS, you just don't want to do it. I try my best not to do it, right? Well, it's not even try. I just don't do it. I'm just straight up with people. And if you're not that way, it creates problems. So be upfront with your sellers 100% of the time, even if it hurts you to do it. Because guess what? Maybe they don't like what you have to say. And they say no to the deal. That's the worst thing that can happen. But if you're not honest with them, or not fully transparent, let's say it that way, and they don't know about this thing, that can be a thing, because you have to deal with these people to some extent for the duration of this loan. You've got to deal with them. So why would you start the relationship out with falsehoods? Don't do that, because it'll come up. It always does. You can't hide anything. Eventually, it's going to come to the surface. What's done in the dark will come into the light. You know it. I know it. So just be straight up right away. Just be straight up with them. All right. Number 8, which I have alluded to this entire time, right? Number 8, not closing with an attorney. Come on, man. I didn't want to spend the money when I started. And so I had all these problems. All of these problems were not just because I wasn't closing with an attorney, but because I didn't think I needed to. Again, I was reading these books, and these books were like, you just need this package, and all you have to do is go out here and go do this. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't close an attorney. I did, excuse my language, a half-ass title search, right? I'm not a title examiner. Why am I down there at the courthouse trying to figure out what is owed on this property and are there any liens? Why am I doing this? Spending hours and hours and hours down there. It's just ridiculous in an effort to save money, and ultimately it cost me money, right? It's insane. Or a title company. That's correct. That's correct. Now, Cassandra says, or a title company. Yes, you can hire a title company, right? Now, in some states, they don't use attorneys. They use title companies. Like a state here in Georgia or the Carolinas, just places that we're in. They use title. Others they use insurance. Insurance companies, attorneys, right? But in Texas, in I believe Yes, in Missouri as well, a couple other places, they use title companies. So you close with a title company. It's a little bit cheaper than closing with an attorney, but in those states, you just use them. And when you're in a state that you have to use closing attorneys, they're going to use title companies to do the title examination and all the, and that's what you need. That's what you need to do, right? These are the people, the attorneys are the ones that are going to explain everything on every sheet to these people that they're filling out right there in front of the attorney. Now, when it comes down to exactly what I talked about before, these in, let's see, what number was that? Getting the number 5, getting the seller to sign all the documents. If I'm explaining it to them, they can very easily say, it wasn't explained to me. I don't know. And that happened to me. In this case, when you're using a closing attorney and the closing attorney is telling them, here's what you do. Here's what this form is. Here's what it means for you. By signing this, this happens. By signing this, that happens. Explaining to them, well, what if I don't sign it? Well, if you don't sign it, this can't happen, which means this won't happen, the deal. But and it's not a threat. It just means it's part of the buyer's checklist that needs to be done so we can do this legally, okay? So the attorney explains all that to them, because what happens now with that same seller that goes to the attorney general or another lawyer or whoever, some kind of an advocacy group or whatever. Now, this doesn't happen, but I'm giving worst case scenarios because it could happen. When it's handled with an attorney, then the attorney is going to explain everything and they're going to have everything signed off on. And the attorney, when they come to him and say, well, the attorney never explained any of this to me. And they're going to go to the attorney and the attorney is going to say, no, on this day, I pulled the file. Here's the day we closed it. Here's all the forms they signed. All of this was explained to them. Everything was explained to them. They said yes to this. They confirmed that. They said this to that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's what you need. You don't have to fight the fight. You paid the attorney to fight the fight. So if there's ever a question, it falls back on the attorney. Not that there's anything wrong, but the attorney is simply there to verify. It's like another level of insurance for you. They're there to verify that all the documents were done properly, done legally, lawfully, and it's in place and it was filed. We filed it ourselves on this day, this way. It's just a beautiful way to do your business, right? You're paying these people not because you have a pocket full of money. You're paying these people to give you layers, layers, and layers, and layers of insurance, of comfortability, of fairness to the seller and whoever else is involved in the deal. Transparency yet again. When you're closing with attorneys and title companies, it works out great. We talk to sellers all the time that are unsure about the process, and we connect them with our attorney here, who is more than gracious, to us. He takes our time. He sets up his times. He says, hey, if they have a question, have them call me at this time. And then we give that information over to the seller. They talk to the attorney. Even if we're not closing with our local attorney, they might be in Oregon, Nevada, Ohio, Carolinas. But we have them talk to our attorney because he's going to explain the whole package to them and what they're going to need to do, or the process, not the package, but the process to them, so that they're comfortable and they understand. And they're going to be able to look that attorney up, and people do. They're like, all right, who's Jim Jones Esquire? And they're going to Google them in Georgia, and they'll see that our attorney is straight. We use an attorney here. His name is Lou Beltrami. And Lou does all of our local closings, whether it's cash or otherwise. He is not sponsoring this video. I'm just telling you who I'm using here in Atlanta. And he talks to sellers all around the country for us. Great guy. Great guy. All right, so let's get to number 9. Okay? Number 9. Not using servicing companies to pay the mortgage. Ooh, this is a big one. I didn't do this for years. Whew, just thinking about this gets me a little warm. That's a little parched right there. And let me tell you why. I was doing these deals, and at one point, I think in the beginning, I had I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 deals. And I'm running all over the place, paying mortgages, sending stuff out here. And then times changed and everybody was logging in. And people didn't want to give me their login information, which is understandable. I wouldn't want to give my banking login, especially if I bank with the company that financed my house, because now all my financial information is in someone else's hands and I don't know them. I don't want to do that. So we implemented servicing companies years ago, utilizing servicing companies in our business. It doesn't cost much money at all. It costs less than $20 a month per loan to do this. So we use servicing companies. Why? For several reasons. So let me share with you why. One, it gives the seller comfort in knowing that they're going to be comfortable. We're using a servicing company that's licensed in the state, that the states that they do business with are in, to collect, this money and pay that money out. So they bring it in. I'm not going to write you a check, Mr. Seller. It comes from a servicing company, much like what you do. Do you have have you ever had automatic withdrawal from your bank for your mortgage? Yes. Okay. Same thing. So I don't have to think about it or worry about it. You don't have to share your private and personal information with me. And frankly, I don't want to be responsible for it. These people are licensed to do that. So I feel like it's to your benefit as well as mine to pay for that. And you're not paying for it. I'm paying for it because it's another level of a protection for you. Now, what happens if you want to go buy another house? Because that's one of the objections. They're going to want to know that this house has been making money, that it's being paid for and not by them. So the servicing company can supply the underwriter for their new mortgage on their new house a document that says this has been paid on time for these many months, and it's expected to continue to go on for any number of years. So now their DTI is handled, all right? That mortgage now, it's not going to come off their credit, but it comes off their debt to income ratios. So it's more than just the comfort of not having their personal information all the way out there all the time. It's also going to protect them from a debt to income issue when they go to buy another house. That's why it's important to use servicing companies. Because prior to this, in terms of my not using servicing companies, prior to that, man, it was just a problem. It was just constant problems with people that were buying other houses. They'd have a house and maybe they were going into foreclosure, but I came in and saved the day, and maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, they go to buy, and I haven't heard from them, but they go to buy another house, and now guess what? They can't, debt to income ratio, and then they don't want to hear from me. I mean, I wouldn't give them canceled checks. They don't want to see that. They don't really care about that, although we would supply it, but they wanted it to be in a different format, and I couldn't supply that. So it wound up being a problem for them. So I learned how to implement servicing companies into my process, and I teach that. I teach you that in these courses because it's important, man. I can't stress to you how important it is, not just to get the deal, but once you have the deal, the thoughtfulness that goes into protecting your seller. That's your selling point. When they're on the fence and a little uncomfortable, everything is about protecting them. You're protecting yourself in the same time, but you want to protect them as well. And these are the things that you put in place to make that happen. Okay? Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense, but if it doesn't all the way, we can get into it later, or as always, just put it in the comments. I'll answer your question, I promise. Okay? Let's move on to the next. All right, so next we have failing to handle insurance properly. All right, so this is what happened to me when I have had four or five due on sale clause requests, and every one of them was because of this. Failing to handle the insurance properly. You have to make sure that the seller is on the insurance. You're going to get a new policy. You're going to change a lot of different things around, and you're going to be added to the policy. Whoever is lending you money, if you're using private lenders, is going to be added to the policy, but they have to be on the policy. If they are not on the policy, the due on sale clause can be exercised at any moment, right? They don't have to be listed on the policy as an owner occupant. You want to be honest also about the use of said property. You don't want them to be on there as the owner occupant of it. You know, they're going to be on there as a loss payee to the tune of whatever the remaining balance is on the loan, or whatever you've negotiated. Even if they're getting nothing, they have to be named in the insurance, right? You're going to be named as the primary, but or however you title it, is going to be named as the primary, but they have to be on that title, on that insurance policy. If they are not on that insurance policy, and for whatever reason it pops up on their radar, because they're always looking for insurance. So if that person is not on an insurance policy for that particular address, it's only a matter of time before the lender sees that. And the very first thing that they're going to do is apply their insurance, which is ridiculously expensive. It's like getting hazard insurance for your renovation projects, right? It can be $2,000, $2,500 today. And they're going to put that on there, and you got to pay for it. They're going to pay for it, and it's going to generally be non-refundable, those kind of policies, which means you're responsible for it. They pay for it, but now you got to pay them back. Even if you go get another policy, and that other policy could be half of what that is. Depends on the house. But they're going to put the most expensive insurance on there as possible. Not that they're trying to do that, but that's just the way they do it for whatever reason. I can't say why they do it or not, but that's what they do. And then once they see that there's no insurance there, they're going to add a policy in that person's name. And the next thing they're going to do is start looking at that loan. And so they start looking at those loans, and they see, oh, well, this has been transferred. They didn't have insurance. It got transferred to these people. We haven't been paid. Exercise the due on sale clause. Send out the letter. And now you got to figure out what you got to do there. There are things that you can do to fix that problem once that happens. But in the beginning, I didn't know. I know now. Now, if that does happen, I know to handle the insurance properly first. But if there's a due on sale clause that is requested or executed for any reason after that, now I know what to do. I know now to go and unravel the deal and structure a lease option as opposed to a subject to deal. Now, I'm not going to get the same tax benefit. Like, I won't be able to write the house off, depreciate the asset. I won't get that. But that's the biggest issue of a lease option as opposed to owning that property outright. I won't get the tax advantage of depreciation. So, but I'll still get the house and I'll still have the cash flow, which is, I don't care how you look at it, you're doing it for cash flow. Obviously you want the write-off, but it's the cash flow that you really want to focus on as well. So that's number 10. Now, number 11, not putting the property in a land trust. Whew. Have you ever heard the term own nothing but control everything? That's what a land trust is. And you got to know how to do these things. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about that right now, but understand that land trusts are important. If you're taking over a property, I don't care how you're buying it. You could be, it could be your primary residence. It could be a rental property. It could be a traditional purchase. Doesn't really matter. But definitely any properties that you have need to be held in trust. There are different layers to that. There's estate planning aspects to this. There's taxes. There's this. There's a lot. But you want to be able to make sure that you're protected, right? And you can still have your LLC that you own or your trust owns. But that, again, I'm going a little bit deeper here, right? So you're going to have your own family trust. Just to give you an example of how I have my stuff structured. You have your family trust. Then you have all these LLCs and S-Corps or whatever. And then you have a bunch of little ones under that. And then you have a bunch of land trusts. And all of them are holding houses or real estate, right? That's how you want to structure yourself. I know that's a way scaled back version. I'm not explaining it because I don't have time to explain all of that to you right now. But The very first thing you need to understand is learn about land trusts. And then when you take over a property subject to the existing mortgage, or however you're buying it, I mean, you could be buying fix and flips, put it in a land trust, okay? Close it in a land trust. Super great information to know, because again, I didn't do it. I didn't do it that way. I was all in my business name because that's all I knew at the time. And so I'm here to tell you, don't do what I did. What I did was wrong. And I'm showing you how to do it right after having paid the price. I lost a lot of money doing these things because of these 13 things I'm sharing with you. I don't want you to do the same. All right. Number 12, change the mailing address for the statements. And I should have said in the insurance as well. Change the mailing address for the statements in the insurance. Now, there's a form that the people need to sign, but it's in the documents, in the closing documents. Again, it's in the description for this video. No matter where you're watching it, there is a description. In that description, you'll see a link. That link is for the creative financing documents, or the majority of them. There is a document that we have in there that they sign, which is just changing the address. And when we redo the insurance, it's not going to be the same form. We're just getting a new policy, and we tell them where we want that stuff to be sent. But you have to change the mailing address for the bank statements for sure. Why? Because there could be changes that happen. There could be changes in taxes, because it could be a PITI loan, right? Or just principal, interest, and taxes could be coming because you've already handled insurance outside of it. So you're going to make sure that that's changed. And if something is changed with the taxes, you need to be informed. There's a lot of different things that go on, and then they send out the statement. It's always in the statement. If you go online and you look at your own mortgage statement, you'll see the changes, and they say, oh, this has changed. I know in my house, my taxes have changed since I've owned it, and they always notify me, hey, next year this is going to be different. Hey, next year that's going to be different. Be aware. And I'm always aware. Got to be aware. You have to make sure you know this, right? You have to make sure you do that. That is the only way that you're going to be able to stay abreast of what's going on, right? Otherwise, the mail is going to wind up going to the house, and the person that you have living in the house is going to be like, who's Jane Smith? Why is her mail coming here? And they're just going to toss it. And you're going to be sitting there like, well, how come I'm not getting any statements? I don't know what's going on. And then you're going to reach back out, to the owner and say, are you getting these statements? And they're going to be like, I'm not getting the statements. And then you're going to call the attorney and be like, I'm not getting the bank statements. What's going on? And they're going to tell you, the attorney, call the bank. Call back to the bank. And the first thing before I call the bank, I'm going to call the property owner, the person that's in the property now. Again, I'm not a landlord, so I create homeowners. So I do wraparound mortgages and lease options. So the homeowner who I sold it to, I don't want to go to them and say, hey, can you send that over to me? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to them. I want to be out of their lives, and they don't want me to be in their lives. So now I got to go and have this person sign this and get this changed and do that. If you handle it at closing, you have no problem, okay? Now, number 13. I don't know how to stress this enough. So I didn't write it. I didn't put it on there, so I'm going to put it on here now. Take action. Take action. Take action. Take action. Take action. Take action. What does that mean, take action? That means go get a mentor. Go get somebody to help you do this. Because it wasn't until I got my mentor, because I was being pig-headed. I literally thought that I could go to the library and read all these books and learn this stuff. And go out here in the field and fill in the blanks. The field didn't do nothing but beat my butt. I got whooped out there for 2.5 years. I'm talking about black and blue eyes, swollen cheekbones. I got beat up for 2.5 years believing that I could do this by myself, that I could do and learn this thing by myself. These things that have been in existence for hundreds of years and been modified over hundreds of years and are still being used on so many different levels, I thought that I could just figure it out on my own. I can read some Carlton Sheet stuff or some Ron LeGrand stuff, and I got it. I literally believed that. And I acted as if. 2.5 years it took me to wake up and go get a mentor so that I could learn how to do things properly. And guess what? I got myself and I took action. And there's different ways to do that, but that's what it was for me, because I wasn't afraid of getting out there. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm kind of nervous about saying this or doing that. That didn't matter to me, right? I knew what I knew and I knew what I didn't know. And I might have sounded like an idiot in some cases back then, but I was okay with getting out there. I was comfortable getting out there and doing it. I was happy with that, but I wasn't making any money. And I got sick and tired of that. And I went and I got myself a coach, a mentor, some training. 6 weeks after I got that training. Now, keep in mind, I had a bunch of leads. I was out there already. But 6 weeks, I went from sleeping on a buddy's couch, literally sleeping on a buddy's couch, because, again, everyone thought I was crazy. I'd make money sporadically, to having a 5-story townhouse in Buckhead, which is a great area. In fact, I had 2. He taught me how to utilize some of these creative financing structures and go over to builders and make deals with builders that couldn't sell their stuff. And that's exactly what I did. And I made money on those deals, closing those deals. I had deals in place. One of the very first deals I did, just a couple weeks after, it made me $6,000. Right after that, I made another deal, 2 deals. I made roughly $18,000 collectively. So now I'm up to $24,000. I can pay for good marketing, and I'm paying off my mentor because he put me on a payment plan, which I was perfectly content with. But I got him done, and to this day, he is still my man. He's family. You know what I'm saying? My mentor is like family today. I go visit him. He comes, hangs out with me. We talk to each other and check on it. He invests in my things. I invest in his things. It's just an amazing relationship. But when I broke down and told myself, you can't do this alone. You need someone who knows more than you. My entire life changed. I went from literally a couch to having, at that point, somewhere in the area of about $36,000 in the bank and a really, really nice place to live. And it took 72 days for that to happen in total. 72 days. So when you hear me say 60 to 90 days before you do your first or second deal, I don't mean that you can't do it. What I'm saying is you will have built up a pipeline of leads that you have generated, people that you've already spoken to, that you're following up with to do deals with, maybe not today, but in the very near future. Right? They may not be ready today, but they might be ready in 6 months. They might be ready in 2 months. Circumstances can change. And that's what we're talking about here today. We're talking about these 13 mistakes. Let's see. Thanks for being that person for me. I'm looking, I can't read it that way. Let me just put it on the screen here. Thanks for being that person for me. I'm looking forward to working with you as my mentor. Yes, thank you. And it was really good meeting with you today as well. And we got this. We got this. We got this. These are the things that we have to do. We need a community. We need people. We can't do this on our own. I keep saying that to people. I keep meeting people that think like I did 21 years ago, 22 years ago. You can't think like that. You'll never make it on your own. And I get sick and tired of people talk about, I'm self-made. I did it all. No, you didn't. Someone had to let you in. Someone had to give you the information. Someone had to say, let's take a chance with this cat. And for me, that's what happened. I got a mentor. The entire world opened up to me at that point. I'm talking about from one step to the next. Because by the time you get to your first million, you're going to think and need to be thinking about how you're going to do things differently. I'm talking about tax structure, personal finance, estate planning, other investment avenues when you're really starting to make a good amount of money and you need some more verticals. You need something different. You need assets that will allow you to write them off. Learning about cost segregation when you get into multifamily. Learning about convertible notes, things like that, notes that are non-performing that you buy that convert into equity later on, but you report it as a loss today because it doesn't pay, but 3 years, 5 years from now, it turns into equity, which you still don't pay taxes on because you're not pulling any cash out. But there may be monthly or quarterly distributions to you that would be considered income, but it depends on what you do with them. At any rate, you've created some things for yourself, assets for future growth, but tax liabilities today. These are the things that mentors are important for. This is what they're there for. And I hate to harp on this, but I'm going to say it. Listen, there's a link down there if you just want to talk to me about how we can help you get to where you want to get to faster. Our community can do that for you. You just have to be willing and able to show up. You can't do nothing unless you show up. I think that's the number one rule for success. You don't got to be the greatest, but you got to show up. You better show up. If you show up, you can't win if you don't show up. You can't even be on a winning team if you don't show up. So you have to show up, right? You have to show up. Let's see. We'll talk. Okay, yes, Cassandra, about 8:30 if you can or sooner. Absolutely, for sure. We'll talk tonight. But in the meantime, check out the links below. Schedule a time to have a conversation with me. Let's put it together. Make sure you take action. And I'm going to put this list back up real quick. Take a quick screenshot of it. These are the 13 things, the 13 biggest mistakes that I made investing in creative financing specifically. Creative financing subject to novations, things like that. You have to do these things. It is imperative that you do these things. Take that screenshot, save it, look at it, write it down, use it as a checklist, whatever it is you need to do as you're doing your deals. Because I'm telling you, these things will sink you faster than you can possibly imagine. These things will put you out of business faster than you can believe. They can put you in very uncomfortable positions that would just, stop you from, wanting to do any of this other stuff because you think it's a bad situation, and it isn't. It's just that we don't know. Simple as that. So hit the link below. Let's have a conversation. I hope this gave you value. To the Real Estate 360 friends and family, I love y'all. I truly do. Thanks for sticking with me. Whatever it is you want to learn, I got the list. Good. Whatever it is you need to learn, whatever questions you have, whatever topic you think other people need to know about, share it with me so I can share it with our community. And let's have a conversation. This is your man, Jason Miles. I appreciate every single one of you. I really do. I love you. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Being a real estate investor, there's nothing to it.
Sellers are just waiting for my call. Hey.
I'm sick and tired of y'all calling me. Stop calling my phone. I'm just sick of them. Sick.
So basically, there's no competition.
All I have to do, mail these out, boom, here comes the money.
Real estate. Easy money.
Hey, get away from my car.
My offers are solid, and they always get accepted.
Denied.
As real estate investors, we make our own hours.
Now all I have to do is put in these bandit signs.
If you invest in real estate, you know exactly what you just saw. It can be problematic, right? It's the same group of people going after the same group of people saying the same thing to the same group of people. I get it. I've done it all. Some of those strategies can work, but it's all about messaging and numbers. But I'm here to tell you today that there's an absolutely better way to get things done, that you can double what you're doing. If you're a full-time investor already, you should be doing 5 to 10 deals a month. If you're not, let's have a conversation. If you're just getting started, this is the best way way for you to go and get started if you don't have any money to put into marketing and you want to develop a pipeline of deals that's consistently coming through. And you don't have to have the exact same conversation over and over and over again with another new seller. All you have to do is watch this study that I put together for you. It's a little bit of a training, and let's have a conversation afterward. I've been at this for more than 2 decades, and we've developed strategies and relationships and systems and processes that allow our business to do 15 deals, 12 deals a month per market that we're in. And I want to share this information with you. Click the link below. Let's have a conversation. Peace. What's going on, friends and family? How y'all feeling today? I hope you're feeling great, doing well. I've had a lot of conversations over the past, I'd probably say about the past couple months, 2-3 months, about people wanting to get involved in real estate and asking how they can get involved in real estate given all that's going on with the economy. Well, you either have a lot of time, which means you don't have the money, or you have a lot of money, which means you don't have the time. And they want to know how they can get involved in real estate. Some of them have said, look, man, what do I need to do to just get into a deal, right? I don't really have the time to do all of that. So we've just invested their money in some of the deals that we do. So I'm here to open the invitation to all my friends and family that are watching this right now. If you're interested in getting involved in real estate and you simply don't have a ton of money or you don't have a ton of time, maybe you only have, $5,000, maybe you have $100,000, I don't know. But if you're interested in investing in real estate deals passively, truly passively, just reach out to me. There's no link, this isn't an ad, just DM me and let's have a conversation. We've got deals right now that we can fund. Right now, as of right now, multifamily as well as single family, deals that you can be in as little as 6 months and as much as 2 or 3 years, depends on the scenario and what your particular investment strategy is. All I can say is let's have a conversation. So if you're interested, friends and family, just reach out, let's have a conversation. I'll see you later. Peace.